Hey everyone, Pastor George here with today's Bible study recap. And today in Bible study, we did Job chapters 40 and 41, which is God's second speech. So you'll remember last week when we looked at chapters 38 and 39, God spoke out of the whirlwind to Job, and he does that again this week, but his focus is different. Last week, God was answering two of Job's problems. One, that God doesn't care about justice, and two, that he's just not interested in the affairs of the world, right? That's something that's posited by Job, but it's also posited by his friends. And God answers that by saying, I do care about justice. I care so much that I even look after animals, right? So he talks about all the things that he does for the natural world. And then he challenges Job and basically says, can you do any of these things, right? Do you know these things as deeply as I do, right? Basically saying you can't, don't presume to know what's better than me, right? Like, what about these things is more that you know than I know? So that's where we started last week. And then this week, God shifts focus. We have Job respond to God, but as you can see by Job's response in 41 or 40, that he doesn't really, like, he's awed by how great and awesome God is, but he still thinks that his questions have not been answered. And we know this because God launches into another speech, right? To try and focus another part of his power in order to get the point across to Job. And he does this in a really interesting way, because all of 41 is about one of these creatures, and a good chunk of 40 is about one of these creatures. He brings up these two mythological creatures called the Behemoth and the Leviathan. Some people believe he's talking about real animals. I'm of the opinion that these are metaphorical animals believed in by people in the way that maybe we have like unicorns or Bigfoot or Leviathan. that's in the Bible, or the Loch Ness monster, right? These things that are scary, these scary creatures like Jaws or something, something out of the popular culture that we associate with evil and chaos and things like that. And God does this for a very good purpose, and the reason he does this is he's trying to show to Job that he has control over the natural world, right? That's what his first speech was all about, and he has control over the moral world, which is what this speech is about. And you can tell because of the first verses that God begins is he tells Job to adorn yourself, right? Put on the clothes of godhood. You tell the difference between right and wrong, so I can know how strong you are, right? He's being ironic or sarcastic there, and he's saying, hey, you can't decide what is between good and evil. That's my job. That's God's job, because I'm the only one who is in that position, strong enough and capable enough to do that. And he gives as an example of this these two creatures, the Behemoth, which is a land / kind of river animal, and then the Leviathan, which is a sea or water animal. And so a lot of them, funnily enough, we talked about this today, but the hippopotamus is usually what people think is the animal that the Behemoth is kind of based on, because it goes in and out of the water. It's powerful and strong, deadly. We usually don't think of hippopotamuses as deadly or hippopotami as deadly, but they're very deadly. They kill more humans than any other animal in Africa. They're very deadly animals, very strong, huge. And so you can see it's like that to take it up to 11 is the Behemoth. And that rules on land. And then the Leviathan rules in the sea as this kind of maybe a crocodile or dragon or things like that. I mean, we connected the Leviathan to the dragon in Revelation that comes out of the sea and things like that. So these are both very powerful animals, and both of them represent, to the ancient mind and in the book of Job, evil and chaos to the epitome. We actually, even with that connection between the Leviathan and the dragon, God makes a hint here, and this is really the only hint that we get in the narrative itself outside of the first chapters, that Job is struggling, right? He's struggling against something. Job believes he's struggling against God, right? That he's going to put God on the stand. God's going to vindicate Job. God will be found wanting. But the struggle that Job is having is with Satan, not with God. And the only one who can help him is God, right? Because just like the Behemoth and the Leviathan, which cannot be tamed by humans or even killed by them, right? It talks about how the Leviathan laughs at people throwing javelins at it. But God does. God can kill these things and control them. I mean, in the book of Psalms, you have a wonderful image of God taking the Leviathan and playing with it like you would play with a pet. It's things like that. So you have this image of God being in control over chaos and over evil. And you can see that in Job, right? Because if you remember at the beginning, Satan isn't able to act unless he gets God's head nod. Unless God says, yeah, okay, you can do that, he can't do anything. And so God is telling Job, hey, you need to remember that I sit in the throne of judgment and that I am with you and I fight with you against these things. That's kind of his point. And we'll get to see what Job says next week because we are going to have Bible study next week. We're going to end the book of Job right at the end of the year, which is perfect. And then we're going to move probably to one of the books of the New Testament. So that's what we talked about today. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow in our mailbag, and I'll see you on Christmas Eve. Peace out.